Now, global leaders met for the second and final day in Istanbul Tuesday at a United Nations summit aimed at correcting what officials call a broken humanitarian system that has left 130 million people in need of aid. Billed as the first of its kind, leaders discussed how to mobilize more funds and agree to better care for displaced civilians. Critics, however, say the global aid system has been overwhelmed by a proliferation of regional wars and failed states that have ballooned refugee numbers. They also cite poor governance and corruption in recipient countries that consume some humanitarian funds before they can benefit those in need. Now for the latest on the summit in Turkey, journalist Kimberly Curtis joins me live via Skype from Istanbul. Good evening, Kimberly.
Good evening.
Now give us some highlights from this final day of the summit.
Right. Well, yesterday was a lot about financing and funding and finding a way to actually pay for all the services that are needed with these humanitarian emergencies. Today was the more difficult conversation about how to find political solutions to wrap up these emergencies so they no longer exist and hopefully prevent new ones from popping up around the world.
So in terms of solutions, what are leaders saying? What have they resolved to do?
Well, the Secretary General of the International Committee of the Red Cross summed it up nicely when he said that the summit was designed for political discussions, but not political decision making. So there's a lot of things being said, but nothing concrete, nothing that will actually, get things moving. It's important to note that out of the 60 heads of state that are here, President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin are absent. And those are two states that you definitely want involved in any conversation when it comes to political solutions, especially in places like Syria and Iraq.
So, because this was just talking, did they suggest perhaps a follow-up where they may come up with some solutions?
Basically, everyone, in terms of the migrant crisis, everyone's pointing to the high-level summit ahead of the opening of the UN General Assembly that's coming up in September. So that's more of a Security Council. That's where everyone will be present, where heads of state will be present, and hopefully more concrete action can occur. But when it comes to actually finding peace in a place like Syria, there's not much progress or anything to go on based off of the discussions here.
Very quickly, and only if you noticed this, was there a significant African presence and contribution to this discussion?
I noticed a lot of African countries did send delegations. However, most of the ones that I noticed weren't extremely high-level delegations. I know that, for example, the Prime Minister of Uganda was here, but the President of Uganda was not. Things like that. So while Africans have been involved in many of the discussions, especially involving how to get women more involved in the peace process, which is something that Africa has done very well in the past in certain countries, it's not necessarily the representation that you would wish to see at a summit like this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Well, Kimberly Curtis reporting live via Skype from Istanbul.